valuable beyond measure, perhaps the greatest prize in the galaxy. A shiver ran through Merton as she realized why Orthanar had been so secret, why he could not risk the news of this spreading, nor hopes being rekindled. A Votan lost to the Leagues for generations, this hold its last contact with living kin, one of the first. So how exactly does one quantify the greatest prize in Warhammer 40k? It's not some shiny stone or the lost weapon of an ancient hero, it's not even the Emperor's favourite backscratcher. No, we are talking about one of the Votan, an ancestor core, a piece of technology so old, allegedly, it even predates the age of technology itself. We pick up this plotline in the story High Karl's Oath, where Merton Damagot, appointed by the Votan, honours her forebear's oath. In this story, she risks her entire fleet, battling against orcs, the dreaded cursed ones, Tyranids, all because she must honour her ancestors. The kin set out on their quest for a lost kinhold. A mission fraught with danger, but ultimately justified. The prize at the end of this story is worth it. They discover the location of one of the first Votan. So what exactly are these things, and why does finding one of the first ones even matter? The Votan, or ancestor cores, are as sacred to the kin as gods are to more spiritual races. Part oracular fonts of wisdom, part gestalt ancestral presences, and part sentient supercogitators, the Votan are the foci for a secular cult of veneration which is as close as the kin come to religious belief. No league would risk harm to its ancestor core if there was any other path, and no kin nor ironkin would hesitate to lay down their lives in defense of the Votan. By custom, the kin do not speak of the Votan to outsiders. They use the name freely, but never explain it, content to leave others to believe what they want of the word. The Votan belong to the kin, just as the kin belong to the Votan, and no other peoples have any place in that relationship. In part, this is because superstitious non-kin would be apt to misinterpret the ancestor cores as deities or demons. In truth, the Votan can best be described as ancient machine intelligences, so complex and powerful as to be nigh on supernatural. The self-organized data stacks and quantum info cores hold all the information a race might need to thrive in the depths of space. Weapon specifications, standard template constructs, scientific and philosophical learnings, genealogical data, military and survival theory and strategy. These are just parts of the wealth of lore buried within the machine minds of the Votan. So bright do their artificial intellects shine that kin voidfarers are even able to use them as localized beacons within the warp. Herein lies the other reason the kin do not speak of the Votan to outsiders. In a dark and ignorant age, few treasures are as precious or dangerous as knowledge. Sadly for the kin, the wisdom of the ancestor cores has become even harder to access as the millennia have passed. Whoever created these incredible machine minds, it seems unlikely that they were ever meant to continue independent operation for as long as they have. Nor, perhaps, were they equipped to wrestle with the intellectual and moral dilemmas or galactic truths they have been faced with. More and more information, dutifully catalogued and filed away, has filled their mental storehouses to overflowing. Questions posed to the Votan have required them to adapt their own processing subroutines through self-guided evolution and, at times, to request information or mechanical augmentation. Over-association with the true living minds of the kin has led some Votan to develop strange behavioral quirks akin to rudimentary personalities. All of them have become more ponderous of thought. Questions put to the Votan may take as much as centuries to receive an answer, which may even then be another question. Information not often accessed has vanished into lost data vaults deep within their mental architecture, while vital facts or details have been mired in self-replicating layers of data amendments. Day by day, the ancestor cores become more senescent and, in some cases, mercurial. Ironically, the cultural practices of the kin may actually have contributed, however unwittingly, to the ancestor core's decline. The Votan have long borne responsibility for regulating the genomic data required to breed each new generation of kin, even as the race has grown exponentially. Perhaps most demanding of all, they have also accepted into themselves the accumulated and often duplicate cerebral data of endless generations of dead kin and dying kin. It seems likely this custom was once purely practical, part of the same pragmatic routine that saw the bodies of the fallen recycled for nutrients and raw materials. In more recent millennia, however, it has taken on an element of ritual that has seen mountainous drifts of information drown even the hyper-technological mind cores of the Votan. All kin desire to join the ancestors upon their death, with their bodies and minds offered up to the Votan in the belief that their experiences will enrich the machine minds and aid future generations. This places great pressure on individual kin to live up to the perceived values of their ancestors, driving them on to illuminate dark new corners of space, to witness sights no kin before them has, and to engage in adventure and battle across the vast space of the galaxy. It is the major motivator in oathbands setting out to fight as soldiers of fortune in the wars of other races, for doing so allows them to learn much from their temporary employers, not least the movements of the potentially hostile foes and the locations of rich caches of resources. They then return to their people more grizzled and wise than ever before. The tradition of returning to the ancestors also provides the kindreds with their greatest means of sentencing transgressors. It is viewed as a waste of resource to incarcerate those kin so aberrant that they would commit cardinal crimes against their own. Murder, extreme wastage, and abject failure have but one possible punishment: that they might no longer burden their family. The culprit is sent into exile, from which vanishingly few ever return. At the same time, their name is told to the Votan so that the ancestors know who has failed them and can forbid the transgressor entrance into another kindred or league. To the kin, the true horror of this sentence is neither death nor loneliness, but rather that they will never be permitted to return to the ancestors. Their entire life and all of their experience are thus rendered meaningless. The kin say of this fate that it would be better never to have drawn breath. The thought of exile is one of the very few that inspires true dread amongst them, and its threat does more to stay the hand of lawbreakers than would any amount of corporal punishment or fire and brimstone dogma. It is the Grimnir who come closest to speaking with the Votan. To them falls the duty of asking the ancestors for wisdom and guidance, and interpreting the resultant output. This they do within the arcane technological structures called fanes. Every hold has a fane, a space of timeless devices and quiet contemplation, at the heart of which lies a complex tangle of machinery that is part altar and part interface. It is said that once these machines were simply the nodes through which the wisdom of the Votan flashed with the speed and thought from one voidcraft to another. They still fulfill this practical purpose. Culturally though, fanes have taken on greater spiritual significance to the kin, so that now they are viewed as places where one stands in full regard of the ancestors, and where the presence of the Votan lies heavy and somber. Indeed, through arcane technological processes that even the kin do not understand, there have been instances recorded of fanes miraculously developing artificial intellect in their own right and joining the ranks of the Votan themselves. These occurrences of miraculous self-awareness are cause of great honor and celebration amongst the kindred. By comparison though, in recent centuries, more than one Votan has degenerated until they have become little more than fanes themselves. To witness such a decline is a terrible tragedy. Alliances such as the Capellan League or the disintegrating Balor Atal conglomerate endured long years of mourning after their ancestor cores suffered this fate. So when we're talking about one of the oldest Votann, we are talking about a Votann that hasn't gone through this millennia of ingesting continuous data. And so not only does this thing have knowledge, STC technology and templates from beyond the Imperium's wildest dreams, it would not have the drawbacks, at least, of the rest of the Votann, and so it can actually be somewhat usable. As you saw there, some of the Votann have fallen to such a low bar now that there's even mad Votann. Some of them have gone crazy just because they have been overused so much. And these are quantum computers. They can handle a lot of data, but apparently even they have limits. The ancestor cores were created long before the Imperium of Man, and it's even suggested before the Dark Age of technology, at the time when humanity was first beginning to colonize the center of our galaxy, where of course most of the kin live. And this means that this technology would have been around at a time when things happened like humanity allied with the Eldar Empire. And I can't help but think about the ways this plotline could erupt into the 40k narrative. For example, we do know that the golden throne of the Master of Mankind is failing. It is failing because the Master of Mankind's device is basically, from what we know, Old One's tech. It's not from the Dark Age necessarily, or even things like Necron tech. It's likely even older than that. However, the Eldar allegedly do know how to fix these things. And so maybe it would be possible that this Votann could have this ancient knowledge from when humanity allied with the Eldar, and the Votann might be able to aid the Imperium of Man to save the Golden Throne, to save the Emperor. And given that Games Workshop are looking for more ways to integrate the Votann into modern Warhammer 40k, I feel like this kind of thing would work well. Currently, the Mechanicus has no way of repairing the Emperor's chair, but should Guilliman form closer allies with the Votann, this would actually give the Imperium hope to save the Master of Mankind. The power of the Votann is made especially clear in the new Leagues of Votann Codex, where we're introduced to something known as the Somnant, a specific ancestor core within the Urani Surtur that regulates the URSR League, believed to be the most ancient of all the Votann currently. The Somnant has been slumbering and uncommunicative, meaning its immense ancient knowledge is uncluttered by millennia of kin memories being absorbed into it, just like has degraded most of the other Votann. So if it could be awakened in the future, the lore says that the knowledge it holds could fundamentally change the galaxy, according to the Codex, and it might even be one of the first ancestors of the Votann. In addition to that, the Votann do all sort of act as like mini Astronomicons, as we see in the lore, and this could be invaluable to someone like Rabute Guilliman and the Imperium of Man, because Imperium Nihilus is cut off from the shining light of the Astronomicon, the light propelled by the Emperor of Mankind to illuminate mankind's travels across the galaxy. But should the Votann inform Guilliman that they have a way of allowing people to make shorter, effective jumps through space, even in Imperium Nihilus, Guilliman could rely on these allies to basically return some semblance of hope to those lost worlds of humanity. So I am really excited for this new Leagues of Votann lore, and I'm really glad that the first kind of proper book that the Votann get, because even though the Votann have appeared in a few books so far, Haikar's Oath is the only book where the Votann are the central faction and not a secondary faction within the novel. So I was really glad to see that this book was introduced and immediately gave them a major plotline to move forward with, and I hope that Gavthorpe continues it. I hope that we get to see the Votann make a genuine difference to the setting, because ultimately, as exciting as this faction is, the problem that we have is that the Horus Heresy is over. The Great Crusade has been written. Games Workshop are going to have to work hard to integrate this new Leagues of Votann lore in with the existing 40k canon. And given that they would have the option to, and the potential to maybe save the Emperor of Mankind, illuminate lost worlds of humanity, this would be a great way to better bring this faction into the setting, in my opinion. So can't wait to see what Games Workshop do with it. But that's it for this live stream. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this kind of content, please do click like and subscribe. It does really help out the channel. Please do consider joining the channel if you want to support me and get more videos out. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.